You're listening to Calculated Drivel, The Freedom Frontier, Isolation Sessions.
Welcome back, listeners. We've got big news this week on Calculated Drivel. We're now up to 8 subscribers, which is excellent considering we started this show a good 5-6 months ago. So we're actually ahead of...
we had at the very beginning.
What's that? Sorry, Matt?
Remember how many subscribers we had to begin with?
To begin with, I think we had... we had a fake subscriber, which was an algorithm, which was actually one of our best subscribers.
He's our most loyal subscriber, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome back to Calculated Drivel. How are you, Matt? What's good?
I am basking in the sun of Macclesfield. I've left London, the big smoke, for 2 weeks, and I'm enjoying living in a much more relaxing, rural, suburban environment, which is Macclesfield, my hometown. The place where dreams come true.
Well, the place where the pace of life is a bit more human than the big smoke in London.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in, I don't know how you felt when you lived in London, but I definitely get caught up in the rat race. Everyone fighting to be the best, and as soon as I leave the big smoke, I just think, oh wait, no, it's actually fine.
And you're on the did you go there on the train to Macclesfield? I know you've always been a big fan of the trains in the UK.
I am, as many of our listeners will know, a big fan of the West Coast Main Line, and it is, even though the franchise provider has recently changed, I think Avanti are doing at least as good a job as Virgin.
Well, definitely. The West Coast train service, you've been fascinated by it for a number of years, partly due to its charm. I don't know, what is it for you?
I can get from London to Macclesfield in an hour and 40 minutes, which is the same amount of time it takes me to get from my house in London to some other people's houses in London. So
yeah. The definition of London is stretching. I'm worried that they're going to start calling Brighton London before we know it, and that's when we've got to start worrying.
How are you?
How am I? Back to work last week. Not from furlough. I was already, but I've been on annual leave the week before, so I was able to sort of wander around Brighton at a slightly slower pace than walking rapidly up what I call dog shit hill to work each day.
Why do you call it that?
Just a lot of lazy dog owners, or at least I think they're dog owners. Some of the stuff on that hill, I don't know what it is. Fox. Actually, it might be fox, to be fair, because you do get a lot of city foxes around these parts. I've never seen the foxes by the sea, though. I don't know if you've ever seen a fox in the sea or on the beach.
Genuinely, I've not even seen a fox in the same vicinity as the ocean. If you have, please write in.
Yeah. Any? And by the way, can people start subscribing to the channel? Because I know we are, we're reasonably happy with our numbers, but we can improve on 8. I think if we can get to 10 by the end of the year, that would be. I think Matt and I might even stop the show at that point. That would be good.
Let's not set our sights too high, but we can always dream.
Yeah, we got a dream. Seeing foxes around. I swam in the sea, but that was a couple of weeks ago. I wouldn't dare do it now. It's freezing. And apart from that, I've nearly fixed my bike a few times. Still haven't fixed it, but I keep planning on fixing it. So that's something that I'm trying to eventually get round to. Just basically needs the tyres pumping up, but I've just not got a pump. keep borrowing other people's pumps. Sort of don't want to buy one, but I should really buy a pump.
You've become complacent.
Yeah, that's it. And what are you doing up in Macclesfield?
It's a good question. So I've been the whole of lockdown spent in London, and I thought one of the potential only positives of the new world we live in is that we can work from anywhere. So having a couple of weeks at my parents' house where I can work from a distance, clear out my childhood bedroom, and just escape the hustle and bustle of the big smoke. And weirdly, actually, something that you might find interesting is I came here last Thursday. We're recording this on Sunday. I went for a walk around Macclesfield, just reminiscing, seeing the old sights. Posted a couple of photos on Instagram of one of Macclesfield Town Football Club. Anyway, this indicated to my many followers that I was in Macclesfield, and I got a message from your friend of mine, Richard Morrison, saying, "I'm in Macclesfield on Sunday. Let's meet up."
Okay.
And it turns out he was on a weekend away with his friends from home in the Peak District and was getting a train back from Macclesfield today. So we went for a lovely breakfast this morning and caught up on all things
Life related, I guess. We caught up on life.
But having previously sung the praises of the consistency and efficiency of the Avanti West Coast main line, he did have to get a bus replacement service home, which is going to take him 5 hours.
I think bus replacement services, they could be used in a similar way to community service as a punishment for people. So if someone's on trial and maybe it's something that's not too extreme as a crime, let's say they shoplifted a couple of cans of lager from a shop, just find out where they want to go in the UK and make sure that maybe you can get them to travel on a day where, probably a Sunday, because that's a classic bus replacement service sort of day, and just make them wait around at stops and maybe make them clean a toilet on the train.
It's
or
got
something.
to be a surprise as well.
Sorry.
I think they have to assume that they know exactly how they're getting where they want to go, and at the very last second you say, "Oh no, you're gonna have to go on a really inefficient bus."
Yeah.
Even if it's just a short walk home, they have to get a bus which goes an hour in the wrong direction.
And then also that the bus driver's always annoyed at you as well. They're always annoyed at you that you're there and it's a Sunday. Like you shouldn't be travelling in the and that the bus replacement service is a nice thing to be on. Like you shouldn't be like, but you know, I remember I was trying to get on a bus for a bus replacement service, and the bus was pulling in, and I just picked up my bag and started to move towards the bus. The bus driver took both hands off the wheel whilst driving towards me, just doing this sort of no, hat thumb down, you're not getting on this bus. So yeah, that's bus replacement services. And for all our world listeners, I don't know what it's like for people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to explain to the world listener what a bus is?
What is a bus? So a bus is I think when I think of a bus, I think of something that's sort of rectangular. Think of a rectangle first. Basic kids shapes. So think of a rectangle, and then also think of a loaf of bread. I think a loaf of bread is quite a good form to think of. Everyone knows bread. Not everyone knows buses. Loaf of bread. Put that loaf of bread on wheels, and imagine it's being driven by a moody guy, a moody bloke normally. Well, let's call it the bus driver.
They're not that small, are they? Though they're a bit bigger than the loaf of bread. Is that right?
Yeah. This is the loaf of bread's a scaled down version of the bus. Just trying to think about the form.
Just don't want to confuse people.
And that bus or loaf of bread shaped vehicle with a driver can carry, I'd say it needs to carry at least 20 people to be a bus. Because otherwise we're getting towards car territory. I mean, minibuses, that's a whole different kettle of fish. I'm not gonna go there with that, because that's We'll have to get a calculated drivel bus expert on for that, which we will, which we can. So yeah, it's a moving loaf of bread shaped vehicle that is driven by a moody man. That's a good first sign that it's a bus. Not or women, and they're not actually as moody on the buses, I've noticed. And the bus doesn't just take you to your house, it stops off at designated stops, which we call bus stops.
It's interesting you say that, because I was once on a bus replacement service that drove past my house, and the bus driver refused to stop because he was contracted only to stop at the train station.
I remember quite distinctly when I was a kid, the school bus that I took, it would stop at the Blue Boar pub, which is the pub just up the road, probably about 150 metres from my house. And if the bus was quiet, because I was one of the last stops, what I'd do is I'd tactically move myself to the seats just behind the bus driver and sit there quite casually. And then I'd start up a conversation with the bus driver, like, how's shift been? And just try and get the bus driver on side a little bit.
Yeah.
The whole time priming, what's been up to, general chat, and then the whole time I know that my house will be going past it before the designated stop. The stop's 150 meters past my house. So then, as we're starting to sort of get towards that territory, I'd have to go into sort of a more of a focused mode of like, okay, no more general chit chat. I need to get this bus, hopefully, to stop outside my house. I know I can do this because no one else is getting off at the Blue Boar that day, because I knew who would normally get off there. And then I'd say casually, just as we're coming, I'd say it casually, but I'd actually be panicking a little bit, because I know if we don't, all this conversation might be for nothing.
Would you use any kind of pet name? Like, would you call them mate? Or
I think I'd go for mate sometimes, but it'd all be depending on which bus driver it is, because if they're a lot older, and I didn't think they want to be called mate, because it might be me being a bit too familiar with them, I'd try and avoid that. You can kind of have a conversation with people without saying mate or their name for, it's only a short period, and then I get them to stop at my house, and when they do stop, God, I'd be chuffed. I'd be absolutely chuffed.
how would you thank them?
What would I do? Sorry.
How would you thank them if they did stop?
I'd say, "Oh, thanks very much." Always the very much, and then I'd just literally get out and walk into my house. It's easy.
Nice, that's the dream.
That's the dream. Talking to bus drivers. We're moving on to one of our new features this week. Well, it's a new feature, but it did feature on our old show back in the days in the Northeast on the student radio for Calculated Drivel. The school run, in fact, that one, interestingly, on the topic of buses. And this feature is called Chicken Chat.
Chicken chat.
Chicken chat.
Chicken chat.
Chicken chat. Chicken chat.
Chicken chat.
Chicken cut.
Chicken chat.
So, I don't know, can you remember much of Chicken Chat, Matt?
Honestly, I forgot about it until you reminded me, so my knowledge of it is hazy at best.
But I bet you know what it's about slightly, though.
I think, as the listener may be able to assume, it's a weekly chicken news-based feature. Is that right?
That's exactly it. Chicken news. Maybe we call it chicken news, but Chicken Chat
alliterates a bit nicer, I think.
Chicken news. I mean, chicken news is quite funny because it doesn't roll off the tongue. But let's go for Chicken Chat then.
Chicken chat.
So this week I've got some fun facts about chickens, or as some people call them, chickens. Some people say chicken, which is a bit odd. I don't know if you've come across anyone who says.
What do you say?
Some people say chicken, like it's spelled C-U-N at the end. I don't know if you've come across anyone who says chicken like that.
What do you say?
I said chicken. I almost sound like I'm putting an I-N at the very end of it.
So I've not thought about it until you just said that then, but I definitely say chick-in. but it's actually chicken.
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 Yeah, chicken.
I'm gonna start saying chicken.
Okay, we'll call it
I'm gonna
chicken.
start saying chicken. Chicken.
Chicken chat. So, which dinosaur is the most closely related to chickens? I'm not going to give you options. I'll just let you jump at a guess.
My initial reaction is that it would be one of the bird dinosaurs, as a chicken is a bird. Interesting. But also part of me wants to think that it's like a T-Rex, because they don't have very long arms, / they don't have arms, they have wings.
I've got to say, yeah. What do you want? I don't think you need tips actually. I think just go for what you reckon.
I'm gonna go for purely based on body language. Velociraptor.
It's T-Rex. It's T-Rex, world listeners. So when you're tucking in on a Sunday roast chicken, you could actually call it a roast Rex. So roast Rex and Yorkshire puddings, potatoes, gravy. T-Rexes are, chickens are the most closely related, chickens, sorry, to T-Rexes out of all of the dinosaurs. And I have another interesting fact about chickens. Chickens. Chickouts. So, how many chickens are there in the world? And let me put it this way: there's a lot more of them than humans.
I was gonna. You kind of ruined my knowledge. The only thing I knew was that there are more chickens than humans. How many humans are there? Probably.
That'll be 7 billion.
7 bill. So chickens. How?
Yeah. Next time you're in a place ordering it, make sure you say it like that. I know you don't eat meat that much these days, but if you do,
For that.
I will. So maybe there's 2 chickens per person. I don't know. Do you ever get wild chickens?
you get chickens in I guess less developed countries that are probably wilder than the ones.
Are they actually wild there, or are they just like roaming?
Then I think they're roaming, but then what's the difference between a roaming chicken and a wild chicken? I mean, roaming seems quite free, wild is free. Yeah, world listeners, please get in touch. And if you do get in touch, subscribe as well, please, because as you know, Sex Crisps are sponsoring us. But we want to get to know more than just these big corporations like Sex Crisps.
And we want to know from you.
We want to hear from you, exactly. It's 25 billion chickens in the world.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't actually get a chance to guess, but I was going to say 15 mil. Bill, I mean.
50. Yeah. Well, to be fair, you did say you wanted to go double the number of 25 billion.
Wow. God, imagine if they could communicate efficiently.
They can communicate with each other quite a lot. I guess the problem is a lot of these chickens, as we all know, are not in great conditions. And
that's true.
And as much as they may say they're corn-fed, now that's an odd one you see in supermarkets. It's almost like a luxury for the chicken to be corn-fed, and yet...
Do they even like corn?
Who's to say, what type of corn are we feeding them? Is this good quality corn? Do they even want corn? I don't know. Someone once said, we'll have to say they're corn-fed, and then that'll make everyone go, oh, they must be good then. But does it? And my final fact about chickens, is chickens have, well, no, they can dream basically. They dream when they sleep. So, yeah.
I once saw a. This reminds me of a proposal that I saw once for virtual reality headsets that
Okay.
you could put, like miniature virtual reality headsets you could put on a chicken's head, which would
Yeah.
show the chicken a high definition, potentially even 4K resolution images of wide open fields, but actually they'd be in a very small space.
Right. Well, they'd have a headset on.
Yeah, tiny chicken, 4K resolution, free range visualizations.
Right, okay.
And it raises the question: if the chicken thinks it's free range, is it free range?
Well, I guess it's just the question of whether we put you or I in a augmented reality headset field. It depends on whether they've had exposure to a normal real life field and free range scenario, because then they can, I guess, by comparison, say, this wasn't as good as that other 3D thing that we watched or or were amongst.
But yeah, true. But if the way that technology is going now, they might not tell the difference. And
That's
Right.
that's a good point. Well, that's another thing for the listeners to comment on in the video.
is free range a state of mind? Comment down below.
And do you, as a person, consider yourself free range? Because I'm sure a lot of people.
Do you consider yourself free range?
No, not well. Some days, yes, when I'm out on my skateboard or just hanging out with close friends like yourself, Matt, who I've not seen for a while. But if I'm having a boring Monday at work, or just any day when it's just a bit of a tedious computer-bound day, I wouldn't consider myself very free range, especially during the lockdown. I mean, the name lockdown. If I was free range during lockdown, I'd have to have a pretty bloody big house, that's for sure.
You're a battery human, a caged human.
A caged human, yeah. So, chicken chat, listeners, talk to us. Let us know if you want to have more chicken chat.
If you've got any chicken anecdotes, let us know. You can be featured on the show. Comment down below, or write to us on Facebook or something.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. We're on Bebo. We're on Twitter, MySpace.
Calculated Drivel, the Freedom Frontier, is proudly sponsored by Sex Crisps. Use code I've Seen a Dog for 5% off your first order. Sex Crisps. You know you want to.
I don't know who our next guest is going to be. Because of licensing, insurance, Matt and I have been having a nightmare recently. World listeners, we've been, planning to try and record in person, but we've been having an absolute nightmare, haven't we, Matt?
It is a nightmare. The bloody world situation.
Yeah.
But you seem fresh-faced. You seem, very comfortable back at home.
It's a beautiful sunny day in Macclesfield. What's not to enjoy?
What more could you ask for?
Exactly.
And now it's time, Matt, for my questionnaire. The questionnaire is back.
I feel like time to insert the questionnaire jingle.
Lovely stuff.
That click wasn't for the questionnaire. That was just I'm just going to randomly click intermittently throughout the show. So, okay, Matt, are you ready to be questioned?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want your answers to be super fast. I want you to start answering them without thinking too much. And I've got a fair few here. It's not three big ones like yours. It's a range of questions, and they're very random, and they're not related to each other at all. Okay.
Quick, short and sweet.
Yeah, short and snappy. Some of them where it's needed, longer answers, please. And you'll know when, I'm sure. Okay, let's get quizzing. No, it's not quiz, it's questionnaire. Let's get questionnairing. So, first one for Matt. When someone sneezes, we often use the phrase, bless you. Now, in the current climate, when someone sneezes, alarm bells ring. If you're wise, they should anyway. The question is, what is the maximum distance you can bless someone from, and what is socially acceptable? If they're in an office, how far away can you go? Oh, bless you, because it's a bit weird if it's too far.
I have a very vivid memory of when I was very young, and I used to walk to school. And I have a very vivid memory. I think I was like 12 or 13. I was just coming out of the school gate and walking up the road, and I sneezed, and on the other side of a main road, an old lady said, "Bless you!" And I think she was pushing it. I think it was probably about 30 metres or something.
Would you go for 30 metres as a cut-off point? I mean, that was a bit awkward, though.
Yeah, I felt partially blessed, but she was pushing it, yeah.
Yeah, disturbed slightly as well. I mean, if someone's getting on for 35 meters.
Also, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like blessing someone is like, it's a bit overly religious for someone who might not be religious. It's like, excuse me, I don't want to be blessed. Can you stop blessing me?
Yeah.
Maybe do something else. I mean, if you want to do something for me, do something else. I mean, it's not like I thought this morning, oh, I hope someone at work blesses me when I sneeze.
Are you allowed to refuse it? If someone says bless you, can you say no thanks? No, I'm alright, thanks.
What do they say in law when they go, they kind of, someone says something and you kind of stop them. You stop them. There's a word that you use.
I don't know what that is, but I need to know that.
Like the lawyer says it, they don't want their client to be asked that question. They find it like it's too probing, and they'll say it's not rejected, it's something else. There any lawyers listening? Please comment below what you think, what the word is for that. Matt and I, we're still trying to get a solicitor.
If we find out, I'm definitely going to start using that because I'm sick of being blessed against my will.
And also with the whole blessing when you sneeze, it almost puts pressure on the sneezer to stop. Like, if they're going to go on a frenzy of sneezes and the person blessed the first one, they bless the second one, they start getting annoyed. They go, I'll bless another one, do I? It's like, I didn't ask you to bless the damn first one.
That's so true. Don't get annoyed at me. I didn't ask you to bless me.
No. Anyway, that went well. I'm glad you liked that question. It was something that I thought was important and you might be able to shed light on it. Okay, second one. Which job would you hold down for longer? Postman or milkman? Or postman or milkman? I'm saying mun and mun, yeah. Which would you hold down for longer before you threw the bloody towel in? What do you reckon?
I quite like the idea of both of them. I think postman, it depends. If you're lucky and you've got good weather, I quite like the idea of strolling around. Maybe not if you're in a big city, but maybe like a countryside postman, kind of like walking around, delivering letters, saying hello to the neighbours. It seems quite nice. And then milkman, I feel like where do the responsibilities of a milkman begin and end? Where do they get the milk? They don't know. I mean, they're not milking cows.
No.
I feel like they have to get up earlier. They're both early days, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to be up early for both. I mean, the milkman especially, because he does the morning milk run. I think they call it.
I think milkman is potentially a dying profession. So just to cover my back, I might choose postman, especially in this economic climate. Yes. But I do like the idea of driving around in an electric milk float.
Little milk float. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of both.
Not the idea of both. Perfect. So that
if anyone's listening who can offer these as kind of like a work experience, then we can record that and have it as we can feature you.
Yeah, and Matt and I are looking to do some features on. We want to do some documentary work on different professions, and if there are any milk men listening, or milk women, maybe I don't know if you get female milkmen. What was that?
Milk persons.
Milk persons, yeah, you got to be PC these days. Milk people.
Milk people. Milk people sounds like a cult.
It sounds like a very dodgy cult. Moving on. Have you ever considered making your own soup? If not, why not?
I have gone one step further and made my own soup.
It's not part of the question. I said, have you considered making milk? Not milk, sorry. Soup. Have you considered making?
The question of have you ever considered making milk, I find quite intrusive.
Okay. Soup.
Soup? Well, yes. And I have...
Leave it there. I don't want to know what soup you made. There's one thing I wrote down here. Don't let Matt tell you what soup it was. I don't know why I wrote that, but it's part of it. Maybe it's just to be funny on the show. Most likely. Okay, next question. Which Pixar characters do you least approve of and why? Or which Pixar character, let's hone in on one. Do you go, probably didn't need them in the film?
They didn't do much for it.
Instinctively, Woody. I mean, obviously he's a pivotal character in like the narrative of the film, but I just think he's an absolute loser.
He's a nightmare.
He's an absolute square.
Yeah.
Have you seen Toy Story 4?
I have, and I think he causes so much hassle in that film.
I just don't believe it. Bo Peep is an absolute stone cold hottie. She is cool, she knows what's going on, and for some reason she has this thing with Woody. Woody, he's like...
He's a dweeb.
He's a dweeb, yeah. He's the kind of guy who, when he was at school, I don't know.
And he can't go down, he can't pull the card out of his back pocket saying, oh, well, I'm harmless. It's not good enough. We need something more from you.
You've got no interests. You just...
What do you do when you're not filming Toy Story? You literally...
I bet I would love to see the kind of like on set kind of vibes, like the interaction between the characters. I bet Buzz Lightyear is like quite chilled, kind of interesting guy to have a coffee with. I just think Woody, there's nothing that interests me about him. I bet.
And it's not even like he's playing the fool or he's a fool. It's hard to even define what he is and what he does apart from just cause issues in the show.
Just because he's the main character, he has this kind of like air of arrogant, this like sense of importance because he's the favourite toy of whatever the kid's called.
Yeah.
Whereas like Bo Peep, Buzz, the
Rex even. Rex is much better.
Rex is cool. I feel like I could be friends with all of them, but Woody's just like the guy, I don't know, like the guy at school who's like trying to be friends with you, but like he's not bringing anything to the situation. It's just being awkward.
Yeah.
I just think...
And it's not even like, that's not through your lack of effort in that direction, because you gave him the benefit of the doubt early doors when you first met the guy, but it just was like, can't,
If you want to keep hanging out with us, you need to bring something to the conversation.
And that's why we've actually rejected Tom Hanks on the show several times. He got in touch with Matt, and Matt called me up the day I was in the pub And he was like, "You never guess who called again?" And I was like, "Was it, I don't know, Tom maybe?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "I hope you hung up on him." And he was like, "Well, you did, didn't you?"
Nothing against him as an actor. Like, he's played a lot of interesting,
Great
like,
actor.
good roles, but I mean, I just can't.
You can't see past Woody as a. I mean, I love a lot of stuff that Tom Hanks has done, but God, Woody.
It's just, yeah, it's awful. And I mean, yeah, if you want to listen to Tom Hanks, then listen to a different podcast.
Yeah, not for us. We don't want you here. Okay, next question. We're back on food here. Do you believe that Scotch eggs have a future as a product, a food product?
I think you know that this is quite a deliberately provocative question for me.
What is a Scotch egg, by the way, for the world listener who's not had one, Matt? I know you.
The world listener, as a, I mean, as a resident calculator Drivel Scotch egg expert, it is a boiled egg, peeled, traditionally coated with sausage meat, then covered in breadcrumbs, and then deep fried. It is one of Britain's greatest dishes, and one of the most versatile snacks known to man, in my opinion. It's both transportable and delicious, and it can come in many shapes and forms. You can get a soft set where the yolk's still runny. You can have variations which include no meat products. I've had very nice sweet potato, I've had mushroom, goat's cheese, red onion, I've had corn, sausage, Scotch egg. The possibilities are potentially endless, but your question does raise an interesting point, which is something that I've thought about quite a lot since I'm trying to eat less and less meat these days, and I still do eat meat, but it's becoming more of a treat for me. So in terms of a Scotch egg, it's very much a special occasion.
Yeah.
But as I alluded to before, the vegetarian Scotch egg offers a very nice alternative, a guilt-free alternative. But the question does still stand. What does a vegan Scotch egg look like? If we're not using an egg, what are we using? And at this moment in time, I've not seen a viable alternative.
No.
And I think if there are any research scientists listening, I think this is one of the big questions for the future of humanity, is how do we replace the chicken egg within a Scotch egg in a delicious way. We want it to be runny. We want the potential for a runny egg. And what does that look like when a chicken is not involved?
And if a chicken is involved, let's go down the let's get the greenest pastures, Windows desktop background, grassy hill, I'm talking the best pastures. I was going to say the best pastures in town, but then that's not rural. So we want, Swiss mountains, chickens roaming for days upon days.
Or we just put more money into the aforementioned virtual reality chicken headsets.
The virtual reality free-range headsets for chickens. Now that is, the technology is moving at a rapid pace. So if Elon Musk's listening, maybe forget Mars for a second and look back.
Look at literally in your backyard where the chickens are.
And say to yourself, do I really want to buy more acres, or do I want to do it quicker?
There's not even any chickens on Mars. What?
I know. That's a whole nother episode, right?
When we get him on, we can talk.
We'll try and get him on. I mean, we've got Susan on the case at the moment, but she's been off ill. I think she says she's got coronavirus, but we're doubtful. She was on holiday for a while. Next question, Matt. What are good things to shout at a football match if you're not that familiar with football to help you blend in with the crowd?
This is a good question, and I feel like it's part of this fulfills part of the Calculated Drivel manifesto as a public service broadcaster. I'd say the first thing would be, "Come on, my son," and that is something that you can shout at anyone on the pitch. Doesn't matter if they have the ball or not. Doesn't matter what team they play for. You just it indicates a level of dedication and supporting for anyone on the pitch. So I know it could be confusing at first because they're not your child. They don't have any blood relation to you, but you need to just put that to one side.
Yeah.
Because in the game of football or soccer, for our American listeners, the boundaries between blood relation and companion very much blur once on the field. So saying something along the lines of "Come on, my son" is very much accepted, and if you say that, people will think you're a diehard fan.
Yeah, and people, they'll put an arm around you and say, "Let's go for a couple of pints afterwards."
If they do that, you just go along with it.
Yeah, but don't say "son" to them. Just shout it at the pitch. Another good one, if your team's losing. Now, I know this is for someone who's not that familiar with football or soccer, but if you're watching the game, I'm pretty sure you can figure out if the team that you've decided is yours based on the people around you, which would be a good move. If your team's losing, you can also shout, "Fucking ref." That's quite a good one.
Yeah, just shout just a generic abuse.
Generic abuse is good, especially if it's directed at the ref.
Yeah, and you can. It's quite common for fans to give advice to the referee of what opticians that they could go to improve their eyesight, which alludes to how their decisions on what they've seen on the pitch might not be correct.
I just on this topic, I heard a really fun one recently. There's a player who plays for Brighton Brighton football team apparently, who's he's not the fastest. He's not the fastest.
Knife in the drawer.
He's not the fastest knife in the drawer. Yeah, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. And a fan who was very annoyed said to him, I think his surname was Lewis. He said, "Lewis, I've seen milk turn quicker than that," and it was having a go at the kid's lack of agility. So if you've got witty one-liners like that,
it's a forum for comedy.
Yeah, by all means, go for them. The next question. I know we've got. I hope you're enjoying the questions so far, listeners and Matt. They're exploratory questions, and hopefully, people listening will have they'll have their own answers for these, and they might not even be slightly similar to Matt's and ours. We hope they're not. So
you could describe it as gold mining.
Gold
mining for radio gold.
This is called radio gold mining. That's the name of this feature.
You won't find anything, but if you're lucky, you might find a little nugget.
It's like the old saying, if you don't ask, you don't get, which I think is a very important one. What invention would you remove from human history? Something that you just think, oh, that didn't need to be invented. That's a waste of bloody time.
Very interesting.
And you could also remove it from human history just like that with a click of the fingers, and it just for your own enjoyment of watching the hilarity of that invention no longer being there suddenly.
What, as in like suddenly it's gone?
Yeah, like if you let's say the car, you could just click People go out in the morning. Keys are invented. They're still there, but the car's gone. So people go outside, no cars.
Maybe I'd go down to my local velodrome and then suddenly decide that bicycle seats haven't been invented
During a
and
race.
see what happens, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe pedals.
Pedals would be a good one. But you'd want to make sure you remove that invention with a click just as they're starting, because they do pick up quite a lot of momentum, and they don't. Maybe the pedals are less important with once they've got the speed up.
That's a difficult one. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with that for now.
Go with that. And your final question, Matt, of the questionnaire before we move on to calculated musings, which is a new feature, or philosophical feature. I think the whole show is quite philosophical.
It's basically a philosophy podcast now. We didn't intend for it to go this way, but
We didn't. It's just
incidental.
It's incidental. It's coincidental. We're actually doing. We might even do a section on dental work as well at some point.
Purely, and then it'll be dental.
Then it'll just be dental, yeah. So, Matt, what inanimate object around the house do you swear at the most, and does it deserve it? Or what have you, what really sort of winds you up around the home? Anything?
My initial thought was the mirror, but that's mainly just screaming at my own reflection.
Right. Okay.
But let's not go into that. I mean, it's something we've covered a lot on the show before. Just the sink and the general washing up.
Yeah.
As we've said, I am the dishwasher in my house, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the dishes. I'm sick of the sink.
The sink's not sick of you, though, is it? It wants you to get, Matt, I'm out. I'm going to be messy again. I'm going to be full of gubbins and old bits of food. And that's the worst. The bits of old food, which my dad coined the term gubbins, which I thought was quite a good way of describing potato or bits of tuna, or I don't know, just
sometimes as well, like I can't, even if I'm not going into the kitchen to do the washing up, I'll just be going and getting a little snack, but there's a little bit of unwashed crockery by the sink, and it's almost as if the sink's just whispering, "All right, mate."
Yeah.
Oh, how's it going?
bit of a Cockney geezer, a bit. All
right, mate. And I'll try and ignore it. I'll just be like, la la.
It gets more power though. The longer you leave it, it builds up power, doesn't it?
Yeah. The more dirty washing is like, oi,
you.
You fucking idiot. Yeah, I mean, I have a difficult relationship with the sink. What about you?
For me, the sink is.
You've got a dishwasher, so.
Yeah, I've got a dishwasher, but I still get in fights with the sink. Fights with the sink. I got into a fight with the bin once. Actually, I was trying to press a milk bottle down, to squish it down to put it into the bin. But as I was pressing it into the bin, it was because there was a couple of other things. It was things were as I pressed one thing down, the other thing would pop out. And
Who won in the end?
The bin, actually, because I so basically punched the milk bottle to try and compress it into the bin, and end up cutting my hand on a can or something, and then I went to work and I was just good start to the week.
And then you had to move house.
I had to move house, yeah, exactly. So that's the end of the questionnaire for you, Matt. I hope you enjoyed that.
Great, yeah. I feel like there are a couple of nuggets in there.
Couple of little nuggets.
Calculated drivel. The Freedom Frontier. Isolation session.
And on that note, I think we're going to say thank you, world listeners, for joining us today on our first video call show. Any words from you, Matt? Anything that you'd like to say to them?
I mean, just keep writing in. any comments down below or any comments on the Facebook page. We read them all and we will incorporate them into the next episode. So if you've got any thoughts, just post away. There's no wrong answers.
Fire away.
There's no wrong answers.
Fire away. And Matt, I was going to say we can. I'm going off the formal stuff now. We can stop recording on the video, and I'd be interested just to hear a bit about breakfast with Richard.